What is up, guys? Welcome to my review for Arrow Season 8, Episode 5, titled Prutchness. Now, with this being the 5th episode of the season, there is the Season 5 title card, but also this episode is an homage to Season 5, more of the flashbacks of Season 5 than anything, which took place entirely in Russia, except for the last couple episodes of the flashbacks. And obviously, if you've been following my channel for long enough, you probably already know that Arrow Season 5 is my favorite season of the show, and I don't think it's better necessarily than Season 1 or 2. In fact, I think that there is an argument to say that Seasons 1 and 2 are better, but I don't know, I just like it more for some reason or another. But with that in mind, the fact that there were homages to Season 5, my favorite season, in this episode is definitely really cool to see. However, the flashbacks of Season 5 are not as good as the flashbacks of Seasons 1 and 2, and the flashbacks are mostly what they're paying homage to, so it's not really that much cooler than, say, paying homage to Season 1 or 2, especially compared to the first episode of this season. Even still, the homages are really cool to see. So the episode begins with Oliver training Mia to shoot a bow and arrow and to use all the trick arrows that he's used over the years, and it's an awesome scene. Like, it's an amazing opening scene to this episode, and it's the first time that I really thought that Mia, for instance, was pretty badass. Like, before it was pretty heavy-handed, pretty in-your-face with saying that she's badass, but here it was actually pretty awesome. And Oliver training Mia, training the next Green Arrow, while I think it could have probably or should have been Connor Hawke, not the son of Ben Turner or the adopted son of John Diggle, but the actual biological son of Oliver Queen, Connor Hawke. But at the same time, even with what we're having here with Mia, it's a really awesome scene for the final season of Arrow for Oliver to train the next Green Arrow in archery, and yeah, it's a great opening scene. So after that opening scene and the title card, the episode diverges into two different storylines. One storyline involving Oliver, Mia, William, Laurel, and Anatoly all in Russia, and the other storyline involves Spartan and Arsenal. So I'll go over the Russia storyline first, and then the Spartan Arsenal storyline, and then obviously give the score for the episode at the end. But also, after both of the storylines, I'll go over the ending scene involving Oliver, John, Laurel, and Lila, which was an awesome scene, and I'll get to that at the end of this review. So let's start with the review for the Oliver, Mia, William, Laurel, and Anatoly storyline in Russia. So the storyline begins with Team Arrow setting out to go to Russia, but also with Laurel talking to Lila and learning that she's working with the Monitor. This is the beginning of Laurel's storyline, where she's told by the Monitor in the last episode to betray Oliver, and in this scene we learn what that betrayal means. It means that Laurel is supposed to sabotage the weapon or the plans that Oliver is trying to get to destroy the Monitor, who Oliver now thinks is trying to destroy the multiverse. Now, based off this scene, and based off the Monitor scene in the last episode, it's very possible that the Monitor is genuinely threatened by what Oliver is doing now, and for some reason he can't intervene. But this is why he's going to Laurel specifically. He's telling her that he can restore Earth 2, which he has no way of doing that whatsoever if it was the Anti-Monitor who destroyed it, because then, if he can, then how is the Anti-Monitor a threat at all? But he's using that as leverage for Laurel to betray Oliver, because maybe he's actually threatened by this weapon or something like that. So Oliver, Mia, William, and Laurel go to Moscow and meet Anatoly, and Anatoly returning is really cool because obviously it's Russia, it's a Season 5 homage. Anatoly would definitely make sense to appear, but also because even though he stopped being a villain near the end of Season 6 and in Season 7 where he actually helped Team Arrow, he hasn't had a scene with Oliver as a non-villain since the middle of Season 5, and that's after he was already a little antagonistic to Oliver after Oliver betrayed the Bratva. So it was really since the flashbacks of Season 5 where they were friends, and it's really cool to see this here, where Anatoly and Oliver put their past behind them and they become friends again, especially the scene at the end where they do that. It's also a great send-off to this character because while he is appearing again, this is probably the last time he's going to ever have a scene with Oliver, as the only time he's actually going to appear again, it seems, is in the finale after Oliver is probably already dead. So this is a great final scene to their friendship, which is similar kind of to this final scene with Oliver and Slade, where they used to be villains, but now they're friends again, but they also go their separate ways. And I hope this means that both Anatoly, who is appearing, but also Slade, appear in the finale, but I doubt the latter will. So anyway, Oliver has to go to a fight club to get the plans for the weapon that's he's trying to create to destroy or at least hurt the Monitor, and in the fight club, it's definitely an homage to the first scene of the season 5 flashbacks, where he's in a fight club. It's not a caged fight club, but it was a fight club, and he beat a guy, even killed him. This is very similar, where he beat this guy. He didn't kill him because, unlike the season 5 flashbacks, which are mentioned a lot in this episode, which he is mentioned as a very dark time in his life, he doesn't kill anymore. So yeah, this was a pretty cool scene, but that's when Mia and William show up after Oliver told them that they need to stay back, I think the scene also where he tells them the reasoning for why he thinks they should stay back, because of how much more aggressive, I guess, he thought that this whole thing is than he thought. It's because he still sees them as his kids, or as kids, and it's a great scene, or at least it's great acting from Stephen Amell. But like I said, Mia returns, and they are both kidnapped by the Bratva, which at this point it doesn't seem like Anatoly has a connection to them anymore, but they are kidnapped by the Bratva, and during all these scenes, we see Oliver do a couple things that Mia is completely surprised by, like in the cage fight scene. Mia is very impressed by Oliver there, and also how he dislocates his thumb to escape. It really makes Oliver look a lot cooler, how Mia is impressed by all the things that he is doing, especially because of how apprehensive she was to get close to him in the last episode. It's really a lot better to see that, or how they're handling that in this episode, as Mia is definitely less, like I said, apprehensive, but also she's impressed by a lot of what Oliver is doing, which makes Oliver look a lot more badass than he already was, which I didn't really think was possible. During this whole thing, there's another homage to Season 5's flashbacks, as the Bratva puts Mia through the same test they put Oliver through during the first couple episodes of Season 5. I think it was Episode 2, actually, and then Oliver put the recruits through the same test, where you have to get through a couple people and ring the bell, and Mia failed to do this, like Oliver also failed to do it in his first couple attempts, even with other people, but that definitely is a great homage to Season 5, even though narratively, I don't really get why they did that, like why they put Mia through that at all. Either way, it was definitely a cool scene and a good homage to the Season 5 flashbacks, even though, yeah, I don't really think it made sense narratively. So Oliver escapes and then also helps Mia escape, and they sneak back to the bar with Anatoly and Laurel and also William. This is where we get the scene I mentioned earlier, where Oliver explains to his kids why he wanted them to stay behind. But then after a scene where Oliver talks to Anatoly, and then also after a scene where Mia talks to Laurel, Oliver is convinced to let the kids go along with them. I think the scene specifically with Mia and Laurel was pretty significant for Laurel's decision for betraying Oliver or not. Watching the episode, there was never really an opportunity for her to do so, other than just straight up screaming at one of them using her powers, or just fighting them. But still, this speech where Mia calls Laurel like a great hero in the future, the Black Canary, makes her like reflect on her life and thinking that maybe betraying Oliver isn't the way to go at this point, even if it saves her world. That was definitely significant, and while I think that just for you to be a better person, it's not exactly a good justification for not saving billions of people, I think that it maybe should have focused more on Laurel maybe not believing the Monitor or something, but still, it works for the most part. It's just that Laurel's justification for not trying to save Earth 2 doesn't really make sense, and it's pretty much like really selfish, but at the same time, there is a way to look at it in a different way, and for it to make sense, but I do think they should have focused more on Laurel just not believing the Monitor, and maybe Oliver tries to convince her otherwise, but either way, it works for the most part. So that's that storyline. So with that in mind, let's move on to the Roy-John storyline, and I'll get to the end of the other storyline at the end of this video, because it is technically the end of both storylines, as Oliver, Laurel, and also John are there. But in this storyline, Diggle gets Roy for help. It's always cool to see Arsenal, and the storyline they focus on here is of Roy's bloodlust, which I thought was implemented poorly in Season 7, but it is definitely interesting in this season, as especially how it connects to the flash forwards with team Team Arrow knowing things about the flash forwards, Mia and William and Connor coming back to the present day definitely changes things in that respect because they now know things that they didn't know otherwise. And one of those things for Roy is how to get over his bloodlust. So I'm hoping this means he doesn't go to Lian-Yu. I'm hoping this means that he could have maybe a bigger role in the new TV show Green Arrow and the Canaries, which is apparently taking place in 2040. But even still, I'm hoping that this means something different for Roy because I really didn't like his storyline in the flash forwards at all. But in this episode, the storyline with Spartan and Arsenal is definitely really good one, and also their costumes together. Arsenal and Spartan's new costume together look really good, especially with the green and red, which makes me wonder how cool Green Arrow and Arsenal's costume would look together at this point, which it doesn't seem like we're going to get much of that. Maybe in episode 6. I think it's more likely than anything that we're going to get something like that in episode 7, but as of right now, Spartan and Arsenal teaming up is definitely really cool to see, especially with Spartan's new Green Lantern-esque costume. But I also think that the ending here with Roy saying he's going to stick around is really awesome because this means he's going to appear in episode 6 and 7. We knew he was going to appear in episode 7, but this also means he's probably appearing in episode 6, so that's 3 episodes in this season at least, and also episode 10, the finale, that we're going to see Roy, so that's definitely really cool. So with that in mind, let's get to the ending, which it wouldn't be an episode of our Season 8 if there wasn't a crazy ending. Episode 1 had the ending where the Earth 2 was destroyed. Episode 2 had the ending with Lila talking to the Monitor, revealing that Lila was working with the Monitor this entire time. Episode 3 had the crazy ending of the future characters returning to the present day, and Episode 4 had the more mild but also pretty cool ending of the Monitor showing up and asking Laurel to betray Oliver. Now in Episode 5, we get yet another Monitor Lila related crazy ending where Oliver and Diggle out of nowhere very surprisingly learn that Lila has been working with the Monitor. I definitely expected this to happen around this time. I mean, it had to happen in either episode 5, 6, or 7, but just in the moment while Laurel was talking to Lila, I had no idea that Oliver and Diggle were going to appear there, and it was so crazy. And I gotta say, the conversations between Diggle and Lila going forward are going to be insane, and I'm definitely really excited to see that. But also, they get knocked out with darts, and all 3 of them are seemingly put in this alternate reality where Quentin Lance never died, and probably other things as well. We're gonna see that in the next episode, which I'm definitely excited for. But this ending was, just like the first 5, maybe not as much as some, but also definitely more than others, insane. So in conclusion, I think this episode was certainly better than the last episode, but maybe not as good as episodes 3, 2, or 1, or 1, 2, or 3, but it is still definitely a good episode, and I'll give it an 8.7 out of 10, but let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below, and if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.